In this problem, we are asked which of the following statements are true given the parent function f of x equals x squared. We are given the function h of x equals -2 f of x plus 1 minus 5. This is written in function notation. We can rewrite this in vertex form for h of x. So let's rewrite this in vertex form. H of x equals -2 x plus 1 squared minus 5. We can now use Desmos or a graphing calculator to help us graph h of x. So now we've got the graph, and we can use the graph to help us determine if these statements are true or false. Let's look at our first statement. There are no real x-intercepts. That is true. If I look at this parabola, its maximum value it will ever achieve looks like it might be -5, and it will never cross the x-axis, so that is true. The y-intercept is 0, -5. Unfortunately, the y-intercept is not 0, -5. If you take a look at this, it is 0, -7. I think some people might have been tempted to pick that because the k value was 5, but remember, the k value is only equal to the y-intercept or the c value when the vertex is on the y-axis, and this vertex is not on the y-axis. All right, the axis of symmetry is x equals -1. So if I go and draw or graph x equals -1, you can see that that is the line of symmetry for my parabola, and it passes through that vertex. So that is true. The increasing interval is from -infinity to -1. So another way of saying from -infinity to -1 is x is less than -1. So to the left of -1. And if I look at that on my graph, that is actually increasing. So this is a true statement. The function f of x was compressed vertically by a scale factor of -2. This is very false. Not just false, but very false. A scale factor or an a value of -2 is just a reflection over the x-axis and a vertical stretch by 2. So this compressed vertically is not a true statement. It should have said reflected over the x-axis and a vertical stretch by 2. So it's not a compression. So this is false. The maximum is 1,5. So if I go to my graph and I look at the maximum value, it's actually at -1, -5. So this is definitely false. My max value is y equals -5. And it's at an x value of -1. The equation for h of x in standard form is -2x squared minus 7. Now, we could go through the process of FOILing out and multiplying out to get to standard form, but I can tell you immediately that this is false because here b is equal to 0, which would mean that the axis of symmetry has to be the y-axis. And that is not the case for this graph. So even without going through all of that work to determine the standard form, I can tell you by looking at this equation and knowing that b is 0, it is not this graph because this graph does not have even symmetry. It is not symmetric about the y-axis.